Welcome to the final in the series of four live web instructional designed webinars designed to support the school annual online yearbook program. Today, we will be focusing on the functions that relate to proofing and submitting pages. Specifically, we'll be reviewing using a virtual book, running spell check on pages, reviewing pages for duplication of portraits, completing pages, reversing completed pages, submitting pages, and getting the proper paperwork filled out in time for submission. This webinar will be approximately 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and begin right here. On this page here, we're going to talk again about bleeds and margins. Now, the whole idea with the bleeds is to make sure that like this red area right here goes past the paper. This way, when we trim the book, there's always that plus and minus when we trim it. So the last thing you want is like a little white streak down the side of a page. The way it looks like the page is off a little bit or didn't quite get printed correctly. So this is why we want to make sure backgrounds, images, anything like that is pushed off to the side in this little gray area all the way around, kind of like some of these pictures are off in the gray area. The gray area indicates that that is the bleed line, or that's the edge of the bleed line. So right there, that's where everything will get the plus or minus cut. The blue area right here, this is the visible area. This is the 8.5 by 11 page. So everything inside this in this blue area right here will be clearly visible in the book. Everything between, so where this little white space is right here, everything between, that's what we call like the no man's land. So there's some of it might be visible, some might not be. So it all depends on how the book is trimmed. So real quick, we'll zoom in on some of this. So you can see here, if you have an image to the inside the bleed area, you will have maybe like the top of this student's head might be trimmed, the elbow might be trimmed. Here you have another student whose head might be trimmed here. Um, and then this student, so this is some things to start looking for is how is this image might be displayed or might appear in the book. Here you have an image that's sitting in the middle of the page. Some of this image might get trimmed, so you may only see a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right, but everything in the middle will be inside the crease or inside the fold of the book. So that's something to consider. You may want to just move this page, what excuse me, this image. You may just want to move this image to one side or the other side of the page. So that is one thing to consider. Other things to consider is kind of look, here you can clearly see the kid right here, but if you look in their hands might be, the top of their hands might be chopped, plus or minus. That's what that teal line right there is. That's the line. So here's your plus, well, your minus. Here's your plus. So you can kind of see somewhere along in this area, that's where the little pages might start getting cut. So that's something you may want to start considering. Even this teacher might be trimmed out. So that may be something you may want to move this picture, kind of over a little bit. So this is so these are some of the things to start considering in your candid pictures. Kind of look at the position of them. Where are they at on the page? And then consider that maybe you need to move them over just slightly, just a little bit. So next, before we go to reviewing pages, we want to show you something as school annual. Um, there is something that you need to do before submitting your page. It's always a good idea to start doing this right before you start submitting. So you're going to come up to Sale, and then you're going to come back to Submit Personalization. We're going to click on that. Now here on this page, we need to confirm your personalization color scheme. Um, mine's not active; it's just a demo account. So But here you'll have a drop down and you get to select the coloring that you want on the front. This is like the names, icons, that's that personalization. Then here you get to select the payment status to include. So if you want just the people who paid to get their personalization, you can click this right here, paid in full, and only the paid in fulls will get it. You can click this and say paid in full and partially paid are the only ones to get their personalization on the cover. So anyone who has ordered one but they haven't paid, then theirs will not be personalized. Or you can include all of them and then just take payment later, whatever, however you want to work it. But you can do all three of them if you want, or just do just paid in full. It's up to you. Right here, you will see confirm results and submit personalization. It will tell you the total number of student records. So here's the number of students that have personalization. Here's the number of student records here's the number of student records who've ordered, and here's the number of students who have personalization. So here, out of 5 who ordered, 3 of them are personalized. Next, you'll select uh, box books alphabetically by here is by name, grade, homeroom. The thing about grade and homeroom is it has to be on the coverage report. That is this right here. Grade and homeroom right here have to be filled out. So if it stops right here, none of this other is filled out, then only these students will be sorted. Students and staff will only be sorted by that. Everyone else will just be sorted. So it is a lot easier. So here we go. Let's go back. So it's a lot easier if you sort box alphabetically by alpha or by names, last names. So just click on that, and then that way you don't have to worry about it because it'll just sort the books alphabetically. Once you're done with that, click on submit, and you'll get a confirmation that everything is taken care of. If you submit your book and don't do this before submitting your book, all those personalizations will not be on there. All right, next we're going to go to reviewing pages. We're going to check all text for spelling, run spell check, review portraits for duplicate images and names, explain uh, why this is important, and we're going to show you how to use the incomplete elements button and how to find other issues on the pages because some of these issues are kind of tough to find. All right, so here we have a page that has a few things wrong with it. First, we're going to check all text for spelling and run a spell check. So we can come up here to the spell check icon right here. We can also go to edit, spelling, spell check. And then here is going to tell us everything that is spelled wrong in the book. Here we have second grade, Miss Smith. We forgot the I in Smith, so we can change that. We can see that instruction is spelled wrong, so we can change that. And then we can say that men's is spelled wrong, so we can change that. Once that is done, we can close that out. Now, we're not done with spell checking right now. We still need to check a few things because spell check is not comprehensive. There is still some things that we need to check because spell check may not pick it up. There are certain names it may not understand. It looks correct, but it may not be correct. Don't forget the 3 theirs. Just because it's spelled correctly doesn't mean it's the correct one. So we need to look at some of these. So we can come up here to the upper right hand corner and we can go to our zoom. So we can go to about 200 and then we can look right here. Here's some text. So even though the word this is correct, you will see that the T is lowercase and not capitalized. So we would have to delete that and fix that. And then you can see the T right here in this is also not capitalized. So we need to go in and fix that. So that's just some of the little things here and there that you may need to look at while you're proofing the book and spell checking the book. Also, you'll see that this wasn't picked up in the spell check, or I think so. This is something else that you may have to sit there and um, proof that as well, or put whatever text that needs to be in there. So next, if we need to look at, right, next we need to review the portraits right here. So again, we can zoom in just a little bit, come down to the portraits. And so some of the things we're going to look at the portraits is we're going to look at the names. One of the biggest things that will get your book kicked back to you is if you have the same name for four different students. So that the book will actually get kicked back to you with that as well. Duplicate images. If you have the same image for four different names, that might get kicked back to you as well, saying, "Hey, we have four images, four of the same images, but four different names." That's chances are that that's not correct. Some one student, needs to be, some of these students need to be changed out or needs to, it needs to get fixed. So that can get kicked back to you as well. Other things to make sure um, the names are spelled correctly. The names are spelled the exact way they need to be spelled. Another thing you need to look at is the images over here, such as we have this image right here. This one, she is a little off center, so you may need to come in and reset her image. Here we have an image that is uh, the zoom is a little too much, so we need to come back in, put that back down, move her over, and fix her image. Also, you need to make sure for images that are not supposed to be used for whatever reason, maybe there's legal reasons, a child can't have their image in the book. So that needs to be, you need to look at that and make sure that is fixed. Also, need to look at if it's the regular image and not the retake. So definitely check to make sure that retake is properly used. So next, we want to look at a few things like after all this, everything looks good, everything looks great on the page. You're happy with the way it looks, and you go to complete it, and it says something to this effect. So here we go. We'll cancel that. Save it. So we looked at the page, we're happy with it, and we go to hit complete right here, and it pops it up and says page 20, a text element remains unedited, an empty image box exists. Okay, so we go to page 21, we try to click complete, we get the same thing. So something in there that's stopping us from completing it. So we go into the page, we're looking at stuff, and you may not be able to see some of this. Some of the things may be very obvious. Say, well, here's a text box right here at the bottom that's not edited. So we can click on that and we can click on delete. Page 21 right here, we can obviously see that one. So we can click on it and delete it and save it. Then if we go back out, it may be telling us the same thing. But we looked and looked, cannot find it, cannot figure out what's going on. We do have a little helper for you right here. Here in the bottom right hand corner, you can see three little lines with a purple dot and a white zero right here. So we're going to click this little button right here. And then what we're going to do is bring up comments. Right here, you're going to have a triangle with an exclamation point. We're going to click on this. And then here on the page, you're going to see yellow boxes with with a triangle exclamation point in it. So if I click on comments, they go away. If I click on, this is called pre-flight. So if I click on pre-flight, it comes back. So you can see we can turn them on and off. So under pre-flight, it will tell us everything that's currently wrong on the page and where all the errors are. In terms of text boxes being unedited and image frames being unused. So here you can see that we have all kinds of text boxes right here in the upper left hand corner. Sometimes that's where they are. Some of your staff members may be hitting that button and then just not using some of them. So here we can click on that, click on delete, and we can just get rid of some of these. We can come over here. Here it will say 9 of them. If we click this little refresh button, you can see now it says 5. We've gotten rid of some of those. All right. So now we have this one that we really don't need to use it, so we can get rid of it. One thing to check, if you don't use the pre-flight, check the dark areas in pictures for text boxes. So you can click on them and we'll just go ahead and get that one gone. Check areas that you here, especially in the portrait. Here's one. Check areas that you don't think a text box would be in, but there's one right there. So we can get rid of that one. Now it says we have an element in a text image that remains unedited. Here, if you click on a text element remains unedited, you will see that it actually pops up here on screen. So if I click off of it and click on again, you will see that it actually highlights it. And once it's highlighted, we just click on delete and it's gone. Now you may be asking yourself, where was that one? If we move this image down, then we move this one over, you can see that it was right here. It was probably placed on the page there long ago, and then everything was just placed on top of it, and it was just forgotten. This happens a lot as you're building your book and things may be forgotten, and so other images get placed on top of it. So when you go to complete your book, you're like, well, I can't see it. I see the little mark, but I can't see exactly what it is. So chances are that's what it is. It's probably just on the very bottom of all the designs. So we can get rid of that. Then next we have one right here. This happens quite a bit too. Some backgrounds might get discontinued, uh, or you have a background in there and maybe you deleted it, but you like some advisors say, "Oh, that's a lovely blue." So they just kept it there. But chances are, what it actually is, and if we move this right here, here is your culprit right here. This box right here is actually an image frame. And so because of those two images right here, these two portrait pages or portrait images, you couldn't see that. So here's your culprit. It's an image frame that's on the page and it's not used. So we have to get rid of it. So what we have to do is click on it and just click on delete and get rid of that. And then um, while you're here, you can always go in and find a nice like color blue and then put it back on there as a background or whatever. And so we just refresh, and then here we see 0 issues, and then we can actually go here and mark it complete. Once we do, we get these padlocks right here. That means the page is locked. We can't do any more editing, and it's marked complete. Here on page 21, here we have image boxes, and this happens quite a bit too. Is an image is picked out right here and it's dragged and then it's dropped and then come to find out that the image is actually smaller than the box it's trying to go in, and so it's just dropped right here, and they just move on. But in reality, this image frame hasn't been used. So we got to remove it. You can bring the box here, and of course, you can always um, do something simple as dragging one of these over, resizing it, coming up to arrange, send it to the back, and there you go. You got something fixed. But it's simply just fixing that. Here we have another situation, same thing. An image frame remains unedited. Now here we have a another issue. We have an image sitting over an image frame. So this may not have gotten put in it exactly. It's just dropped and left there. So all we have to do is we can move that to the side, click on this, delete that, and then move that back. Here's another example uh, of a text box that is hidden in a dark area. So you couldn't, if you um, click off of this, it's kind of hard to see. So that's where this pre-flight comes in handy. It actually will show you exactly where on the page the issue is. So once we get all that taken care of, we can come over here, refresh. We see there's no more errors, and then we can mark this page. We can mark this page complete. All right. So let's go to the next page right here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to click on pre-flight right here, and here you can see there's a few issues on the page. Some of our uh, some of our templates will have this issue. We've asked for it to be we asked for it to be fixed, but some of the issues are this is one of our templates right here on the left page, but you can see this greater than less than symbol right here. It's coming up as a text element remains unedited. Even though there's something there, it is unedited. It's nothing's it the system doesn't register that there's something. So what you can do is just click this, highlight that, and then retype the greater than, less than, the little arrows there next to the letter M on your keyboard. Then if we refresh, you will see that little arrow, that little warning goes away. So just do that to the rest of them. Or if you want, you can just come over here and just delete them. And you can just go on from there. Here you have a headline right here. This will, even though this says headline here, this will come up as an error. You have to edit this right here. Here you see the word candid. Now this one you will have to go letter by letter, highlight it, holding the shift key, hitting the letter C, and then when you refresh or when you go to save, here you will see that it's no longer an error. You'll have to do the same thing with the letter A. Once we hit save, you can see that that error actually goes away. So you would have to do that to every single one of the letters here. Again, if you don't want to do that, you can delete it and then put your own thing. Bring over a text box and put your own thing in there if you wish. But this is, and go to this next one here. Here's something else too. Here you have the word candid. Again, you would have, this is one of our templates. You would again have to go through and click on that. Uh, Save it. You'll see that little warning right there went away. Some of these letters might be a little difficult to get to. Fix the A. If you hit save, you'll see that little warning just went away. Same thing with the designs like this. You may have to delete it, rewrite it, type it back in, click on save, and you'll see that that was saved. So something like that, it may be simple, something as simple as that. It's just removing one, retyping it, Um, but yes, this is something that we've asked to have looked at and have fixed. But right now, it's not. So it's something that will have to be taken care of before the page can be marked complete. All right. So next we have another issue that might pop up as well. Make sure your text is correct. Here, this says freshmen. Obviously, these aren't freshmen. So make sure your text is correct. The other things to look at is your border. So here we have portrait right here. The names are in black ink or in black, but the backgrounds are black as well. So the names are disappearing. So some of the issues, so some of the easy fix is you could drop a box here, drop a box right there, go to arrange, drop it down, and now you can see the names. Other things you can do is click on the name and change the color if you want to, or reset your flow. Click on the flow, change the color of the text, reflow your pages, your images in there, and you can fix it that way. But make sure that you can read the names. If you're having a hard time, guarantee other parents will have a hard time with it as well. Next, you can view your book if you come up here to Showcase and Virtual Book. Here, this would be a good idea to take a look at your book and to see how it looks thus far. It's always a great idea to um, have somebody else look at it with you. It's also a great idea to have somebody uh, read everything that was typed because you've been typing it for long enough that you may you may not be aware of some of the spelling issues or some of the other issues. So it's always a good idea to have somebody else read it so that they can look at it and say, "Oh, this is misspelled. That's misspelled," or "This isn't correct," or "No, that's not that person. It's this person." So it's always a good idea to have somebody else look at your book. All right. So one of the things, if you can't view it virtually, or they want a PDF version of this, I know some principals want a PDF version, or they want to look at the book and have final say over it before it's all submitted. You can come up here to the page ladder, come up here to print, print all. So you click that, and while it's generating, and we've actually fixed this one, the print all feature, or you can actually come over here to print and print page ladder. And here you can actually print the whole entire page ladder so you can make notes as well. Okay. Oh, still generating. All right. So once you're done with everything, you can come over here and you can click complete on each page one by one if you want to. Um, and then you can come over and once it's marked complete, you can click on submit if you want to and all that. Or if you're not ready to submit it or you need to make changes, click on return. Now there is, yes, there is a master way of doing this. So you can come up here to this little gray bar right up here. You can click this check all button right here. You'll see 40 in the purple background. Come over here to actions. You can click on complete. And then here it will tell you if there are any issues or whatever on the pages that you have to fix. And then you can click the same box under actions and then you can click submit and it will submit all this. This is excellent if you have a book that is 50 or more pages or 200 pages. This is a lifesaver. It's a time saver too. For any reason you need to return any of the pages to make further edits, same thing. Click on this box under action, click return, and it will return all those to you. All right, good. So here we have our, it does work. It's just, it's a webinar, so it doesn't want to work for me. But here, this will generate a PDF of your book. And then what you can do is take that PDF of your book and um, show your principal, print it out, show it to a class, or show it to whoever you need to. It will have the trim lines right here so you can get an idea of where everything's going to be trimmed. When you do go to print, make sure that it says fit to paper. If you do by default, you'll see that the right side and underneath it kind of disappears. But when you bring it back to print fit to paper, you'll see that the trim line here and the bottom come back. So again, make sure it says print to fit, well, fit to paper. All right, so once everything is completed, once everything is marked uh, submit, uh, you will get your fireworks and all that. Within the next roughly 48 hours, you'll get a congratulations email as well as an email asking you to verify the shipping address, your school's shipping address, the number of copies, any options you and your sales rep agreed on, as well as an invoice attached, so you can take a look at that as well. Also, the reason why we really harp on double, triple, quadruple checking your book is you have 24 hours, and during that time frame, we can return your pages. After that, we have to start asking for permission and start asking certain people to return the pages because it hits the printing process real quick. We got a lot of schools, and so we need to get books printed as soon as possible and get your book and other schools' books in the queue. So this is why we really harp on checking, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking, have somebody else quadruple check it, and make sure everything looks good before you submit it. All right. So at this time, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask them, or you can type them in chat. All right, I want to thank you all for joining us today. The demonstrations of the functions related to finalizing your pages in the school annual yearbook program may reduce stress and sometimes associated with meeting deadlines. Feel, please feel free to contact me through the phone or through email if you need any further assistance. Everyone at School Annual is looking forward to seeing your book and to seeing what you have created this year. And this will conclude our webinars for the season as well. So, again, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can either email me or give me a call. And thank you all for showing up.